Childhood obesity is now a full-fledged epidemic in India. With almost 15 million obese children, India has the second highest number of obese children in the world, only next to China. The prevalence of overweight and obesity is almost 15% in children, which is very worrying. In fact, in private schools catering to upper income families, this incidence is reported to be around 35 to 40%. Now, on the other hand, we also have 50 million plus stunted children in India, with common nutritional deficiencies like vitamin D and iron leading to it, apart from the obvious socio-economic issues like malnutrition in the lower strata. Additionally, and this is for all the moms out there who feel that abhi to khane peene ki umar hai and don't need to worry too much about the right nutrition for your kid, there's a strong evidence emerging around the fact that having habits like excessive sugar consumption during childhood, even though it may not show itself in terms of obesity during the childhood itself, it can lead to a much higher chance of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and other disorders in adulthood or later in life. In today's episode of Changemakers, we'll be joined by dietitian Ratika Chavda with us, who, apart from sports nutrition, clinical, and wellness, also specializes in child nutrition. During her roles as a child nutrition specialist, Ratika has helped more than 1,500 Indian children globally improve their health and fight the obesity epidemic that now plagues India's little ones too. Let's dive right in. Hey Ratika, thanks for joining us. Good to catch up after a while.
Thanks, Akshat. Good to see you as well.
So we've been doing this weekly podcast called Changemakers, wherein we catch up with the key people from the healthcare industry and kind of talk about what's going on the nutrition and overall healthcare side, right? So our today's topic of discussion is very, very interesting. It's building India's future, nutrition for your children and adolescents, right? And I very strongly feel it's a very, very ignored topic, right? And you'd know that because you've yourself specialized in child nutrition over the years, right? So somehow a lot of people are not aware of the fact that child obesity and a lot of challenges arising out of poor nutrition in children is actually epidemic now, right? It's touching percentages to the tunes of 35% people, 35% kids in urban well-off families being obese or overweight, right? Which is I feel a major health concern. Yet a host of challenges around parental mindset se leke awareness education that kind of is preventing us from being able to solve it, right? So that's the idea. We'd love to hear your thoughts on it and with your experience in the child nutrition domain, right? So to start off, I just want to do a quick rapid fire round. That's how we get started in this Changemakers podcast, right? So very basic questions, just 1 or 2 line answer, and that'll kind of set the context, and then we'll dive right in, right? So first one, why is child obesity really a concern when the fact is that you are an overweight child, but you can always like bounce back and be super fit like Hrithik Roshan in Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum. I think that was the movie, right? So why do parents need to be bothered about it? Like khane peene ki umar hai. Why?
All right. I guess this is only in Bollywood. It doesn't happen in the real life scenario, right? Because the age bracket of 4 to 7, it's called as adiposity rebound point. That means whatsoever fat cells you accumulate at this time, be it less or be it more, it remains constant. Right. It again depends upon the behavior. So if you're binge eating or like kind of eating a lot of junk food at this time, if you are able to change this behavior later on, then okay, you will be fed. But if not, then you do end up turning obese in the early adulthood. So it's not necessary that you can binge on everything at this point of time and then become like lean Hrithik Roshan later on.
Got it. So what you do in your childhood has some kind of behavioral
Of
or
course.
even biological correlation in your next 30 years. Got it.
Yeah.
Second one, barring malnutrition, which is a more socio-economic challenge, right? What are the key issues among children in urban areas that are kind of directly related to nutrition? Yeah.
I guess you mean undernutrition over here with respect to urban areas. Correct. It's difficult to kind of correlate the two things, right? When I started my studies, so I used to feel jitna wealth hai, utna you kind of turn obese, right? Because you're eating so much. But it's opposite as well. It's kind of a dual burden. You do turn obese because you eat all the junk, you store that fat. But with respect to undernutrition, when you eat a lot of packaged food or processed food, you're not getting that much of fiber or the critical nutrients like iron or calcium for the growth. Right. Once you're not getting that, or even not getting those probiotics to keep your stomach healthy, every time you're not storing all those nutrients, so your growth is always stunted. So yes, there are researchers that tell us that even urban areas have seen stunting. You see, now you will actually find more of short heighted people, both girls and
Correct.
boys. Earlier this was not the case because there was not so much of prevalence of junk food that time.
Got it. So basically, to sum it up, it's even in scenarios where you are overnourished or
Hmm.
obese, you are technically undernourished because you're
Undernourished
lacking
as
some
well.
key nutrients and your growth is
Correct.
essentially not as it should be. Got it.
Hmm.
So next one, we know that child obesity is a major epidemic now, right? 35% is the figure that we get to hear when it comes to the urban middle and upper middle class wala bracket, right? So it's obviously a very, very high number, right?
Hmm.
But in your experience of, I think, having obviously coached hundreds of parents and kids on this issue, uh, what percentage is the problem associated with the parental mindset which is inclined towards कि बच्चा है सब कुछ चलेगा अभी सब कुछ खाने दो. So how big is that a problem apart from awareness, obviously which can be solved, but this mindset issue is, I feel, more challenging. So how big of a problem is it?
This mindset actually comes with the trending nuclear families. Nowadays, there is only one child or two children at home, right? And parents literally strive hard to fulfill all the children's desires, right? So this is also one reason that they can't even negotiate with their children who would go on a food strike saying no to veggies or no to soups or anything for that matters, which is healthy. This is there. And when you talk about how much percentage is there, I would say again 70-75% I do see, right? And only 25%, and this 25% also, there would be parents who have seen that concentration issue in their children, who have identified the problem, and now they are kind of stringent on the diet part of their children. While the 75% will surely have that behavior कि अभी खा लो, कल कुछ एक्टिविटी कर लेना, परसों तक कम हो जाएगा, but it doesn't work like that. Like you have already developed that behavior in your child.
Got it. Got it. Final one. What's the
Hmm.
biggest challenge when you work with parents and kids, to solve this issue? Let's say you're working with a kid to solve for his obesity or any other health problem,
Hmm.
right? What's the biggest challenge that stands between that child and his end goal of being healthier?
Very tricky question over here, because the challenge is to counsel the parents, right? To make them not bend in front of their children, right?
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned in my last answer as well, ki just because of this nuclear family, the trend has gone upside down. Now every parent has to listen to their children, what they want, what they do not want. This is because both the parents are kind of the breadwinners for the family, and they spend a lot of time outside their houses in their workplace, right? So they hardly get much of the time with their children to see what they are eating. So now the time when they can actually force the right food eating habits is either the dinner, what they do together, or in the breakfast during this
Mm-hmm.
time. So over here, I, as a dietitian, counsel parents like either one of the parent could do work from home so that they can keep a close eye on their children. Right now, if your child is going to the school over there, you have to keep a track if they're buying something from the canteens or not. So over here, it's triple, I would say, not even dual. One is both the parents, right? Mother and father separately, you have to counsel. And third, you have to counsel the child. And this counseling happens differently, not in one room with three people, right? Because if you say
Correct.
one thing
Correct.
to the mother, even the father will say, he will nod head, right? But going outside, he will forget it and he will put it on the mom. So this is also one biggest part or biggest challenge that I have faced so far.
Got it. Got it. All right, Ratika, we'd want to start out by discussing something that I actually recently came across. Right, so I was reading up on this topic, and what I came to know was that if you are an obese child during your 10 to 13 years of your age, right, there's an 80% chance that you'll turn out to be an obese adult, right, and for a good part of your adult life, right. Now there can be two factors that lead to it, right, and I'd
Mm.
love to know, like, if both of these factors contribute, which is the major contributor, right. So in my mind, I think one can be behavioral, wherein the behaviors that you form in your formative years, you tend to continue for a long time, especially in
Mm.
nutrition, right. That could be
Correct.
one reason why this person 10 to 13 में जैसा है
Mm.
आगे भी रहेगा, right. Another could be something more biological, wherein there are some changes that happen in your body that I don't know. I don't have obviously any knowledge around this, but just wondering if there's a biological component to it as well. जहाँ पे there's certain things I've done to my body in these years that will
Mm.
lead to different health outcomes or BMI or higher chances of being overweight as an adult, 25, 30, 35 years of age. So would love to understand that behavioral is quite intuitive, but is there a biological angle to it as well?
Yes, for sure. There is a biological angle to it. So there are three milestones which determine the BMI in the early adulthood. So first is when a child turns 9 months, right? I do believe that mothers don't give that much of salt or sugar over there to increase the fat cell size of and fat cell number actually over here. Second milestone comes at the age of 5 to 7. Over here, if the parents do not control what the child is eating, the child will actually increase the fat cell number. And we're not talking about the cell size over here. We are just talking about the number of the fat cells. Now, once the child hits puberty or is about to hit puberty, between this bracket of 10 to 13, this is the third milestone where the fat cell number gonna go up. And this process will happen till the child attains an age of 16.5. Right. So if over here one child has a fat cell number of 15, just a lame number I'm taking over here, and a child who binged throughout the teenage as well till 16 or 17 and has a fat cell number of 30, which is double of this, now this number remains constant throughout the adulthood and later. Correct. Now, say for example, both these children are at an age of 19 or 20, right? So now, if this person with a cells number, fat cell number of 15, eats everything, right, even the junk part, he or she will not put on weight at all. Right. Because the cell number is so small, now what is changing is just the cell size. So if he eats a lot and then kind of gets back to the normal balanced diet, he or she will be same over there. But a person who is at a fat cell number of 30, now if this person is already huge, right? Now if he eats more, he will again increase the cell size. Right. Now when you see adults coming to the weight loss clinics, as a dietitian, we are only working upon the cell size, kind of increasing or decreasing it. We cannot decrease the cell number, which the child has already attained by the age of 17. Right. So over here, we have to kind of take care of these three milestones and limit the food eating habits. As a parent, also, when I counsel, I do tell every parent that do give home cooked foods or kind of indulge your children into home cooking, right? Get them into the kitchen, make food with them so that they know what is right for them. And after 17, you can actually introduce more junk in case you want. But by then, I do not think that a child will actually be craving for it. Because for first 17 years, the child literally had everything good, right? And over here, if the energy levels are good, which surely would be, I believe everything should go smooth later on.
Got it, got it. So basically, to sum it up, there is uh, what you do in the first 15, 18 years determines your propensity to easily get unfit, easily put on excess body fat, or vice versa. If you've done, have good habits, have good consumption habits during the first 18 years, less likely to be able to very easily put on and become unhealthy because of your habits. Got it. All right. So Latika, we know that it's nobody in this world cares about your health and your well-being even more than you your mothers care about that. We know this very well, right?
Correct.
At the same time, I have personally seen and kind of encountered myself as well when my mom keeps telling me that when I kind of do quantified nutrition and I really look at what I'm eating, she's like, "Abhi to khane pine ki umar," and I keep getting this over and over again, right? You should have everything. You should have like 10 kaju ki barfi kha lo, it's okay, right? Abhi umar hai, right? While I know that that's not right, but obviously it's more of a mindset or gap in awareness and education, right? So uh, and given that we talked about this 35% number, jahan pe, 35% kids are overweight or obese in the urban well-off areas, right? So the mothers obviously have the right intention, right, of ensuring that their child is healthy forever, but there is a gap in the knowledge, right? And even if
Correct.
there is knowledge, even if the coach or dietitian or somebody comes to them and tells them that it's not good, there might be behavioral or the mother-son dynamic or mother-child dynamic challenges that come in between, right? So
Correct.
if somebody were to tell my mom that 15 years back that Akshat, right, कि मतलब why not, he wants it, उसको hide and seek biscuit खाने हैं, why should I stop him from finishing the entire packet at once because it makes him happy, right? So in like I know these are broad level some challenges that I mentioned, but what are the challenges that you've faced firsthand, जहाँ पे the entire mother-child dynamic kind of even if the best interest at heart comes in between the entire execution of this health transformation wherever required.
The biggest challenge is a mother is unable to differentiate कब खाने की उम्र है, कब रोकने की उम्र है, और कब सुधार करने की उम्र है. Right. If a mother is able to draw a line clearly, she will know when she has to meet a nutritionist. I'll tell you, my last year, 2019, I literally devoted on child nutrition and working for child facilities. And trust me, there were hardly any clients that literally come up to the clinic the way we see adults coming to weight management clinics, right? Then we decided, all right, now parents are not that aware, or even if they're aware, they're going to the doctors, they're not coming to the nutritionists because they do not want to kind of play with that food part, right? They're good with the supplements or they're good with something or the other that may help their children lose weight. Right. So they didn't know what is the right path or were they ignoring it. Then we decided why not go to preschools and schools because these are the foundations for a child, right? Over there, we interacted with a lot of parents. Then we could find, okay, so now here I'm not denying the fact that mothers who could identify problems like learning disabilities or children with too hyper behavior or autism, right? They knew that they have to refer to a nutritionist and then they have to work on the right diet pattern. They are extremely separate part, right? I'm not touching it. It's just the weight management of the children as well. As you said, ki khane ki umar hai, right? Abhi kab tak khane ki umar rahegi? Because I clearly told you there are 3 milestones, right? Abhi 3 milestones mein if the child is eating too much and not too nutritious food, then again obesity will propel in the future. So over here, the big challenge was first is identification. A mother is clearly able to identify. Second is whether the mother is kind of bending every time in front of their child's needs. कि आज crunchy देना है, ice cream देना है. They do not keep it as rewards. I had this colleague in my last organization who used to kind of who raised his 2 sons, right, while the mother was an IIT professor. So over here, more than mother, I could see a father coming up for the right nutrition of their of his children. Correct. So there, one and third challenge which I faced was label reading. Right, you are giving everything to your child, but you're not reading the label. Your mother gave you hide and seek packet, right? So abhi hide and seek mein she wouldn't have known ki kitna chini hai, while she would have known ki chini hai. And then the third thing is ki kitna chini khana hai throughout the day. That is missing. So collectively, the whole part of nutrition and having a nutritionist to help your child or your family is missing, which is kind of a grave problem.
Correct. So you mentioned, Ratika, you would have worked with so many of these cases, right? And a lot of those would have been successful as well, right? So would love to hear a few examples जहाँ पे there were drastic, much needed health transformation that happened. It could be there was some significant other health problem that arose out of obesity, etc. Or it could be just the sheer BMI level was such that it was worrying for the parents, and then you know uh, the kid was able to transform into a much better version of himself, right? Set up for a better life, right? So if you just narrate a couple of examples, maybe some examples that you actually firsthand enabled as a coach, right? That'd be great for our listeners.
So I'll tell two examples over here. One a successful one, and one which was which was a drastic failure. Right. I'll come why a drastic failure I say over here. So this was a 14-year-old girl that came to me, whose mother could identify the problem. So this lady had two daughters. The younger one was all good, lean, right? Who though was not eating right, but here the mother had this thing that why is she not eating right? What is the problem? Right, or were there any would there be any implications later on in the life if she doesn't eat? So she had that, and secondly she had seen her elder daughter putting on weight, right, and she saw the replica of this older daughter in the younger one. Then she came to me, we sat for consultations, and then there we identified the problem. Ki both the girls didn't eat vegetables, and they wanted Maggie or every junk possible. Just then she told me that the elder one goes for coachings as well. So 3 days there, it will be so packed that she doesn't get much time to eat. Then we had to plan the meals accordingly. And I gave everything, including the sweets. So this girl, she literally craved for sweets. So we had kept one specific day wherein she could eat that. Right, घर का बना any mithai, be it halwa, be it kheer, or be it laddu, anything, but we will control the portion sizes over there. We did it. We did the whole process for the 6 months, and the whole family after 6 months was transformed. All of them ate the same food. Father, who was diagnosed with diabetes, HbA1c came down. This girl lost a lot in the sense nearly 14 kilos, what she was overweight. After 6 months, she was at her ideal body weight. The younger sister, who never was in a habit of eating green vegetables, now she transformed herself and her energy levels increased. While even the mother lost a lot of weight doing the same thing. So it's like if you go for a nutrition service, the whole family is benefited out of it. It is not for one person that we would be working. Because when we give those facts, right, it's not like that a dietitian who will make the meal plan will not give the facts over there. Right. When we give the facts, the whole family adopts it. And second instance, I would tell you, I was saying complete disaster. Right. So this was a 16-year-old boy who came up, who said that he will only eat non-veg, no vegetables at all. Right. Children are literally picky eaters and they don't love vegetables. But this child, the best part about him was that he loaded himself on protein. He loved chicken. You give him chicken 3-4 times a day, he would love it. Over here, the mother's attitude was completely wrong. And children have this thing, they emulate their parents, right? So if your mother is doing something right, you will copy. If they are doing wrong, you will do the same thing. Now, in this case, the child, every day he wanted outside food or pasta or noodles, right? As a dietitian, as a normal person also, we know this is not right. Correct, you're not getting all those nutrients. So over here, every now and then the mother was bending, and at the same time, though as a firm dietitian I could not bend, right? Then what used to happen was there came up the cheats. Now initial cheats was were from only the child, then it came from the mother as well, that both of the people had been hiding things and nothing, there was no result at all. So over here a parent's attitude has to be stern, right? If you are worried, show that, right, show that in what you're giving to your children. So that's why I said parents attitude is completely reflected in the child's behavior, and hence a parent needs to control their eating habits before imposing it on their children or before correcting it for their children.
Correct. I think that's a very interesting point, right? So is that said, etc. Right? If you're doing it, let's say on your own or enrolled with a health coach, whatever the case might be, if you do not change your own habits, uh, that change won't happen in your kid as well, right? So this is very important because the kids emulate what you do, and number two is that because your habits would still be on the same old track around, let's say junk food and lack of portion control, overeating, you would not be able to really obsess about it in front of a kid, and you'll be like ठीक है चलता है, because your own attitude is चलता है, right? So I think there's a very, very interesting way of looking at it, is that if you want your child to be healthy, it starts with you, right? And that's what you mentioned, right? In most of the cases that you have, I guess you were mentioning before we start recording this, right, that most cases that you have seen a strong correlation between the transformation of the kid and the parent, right? It could be in some cases that the if I don't do it, this is not happening for my kid, right? So that's a, I think, pretty interesting takeaway for any parent who's trying to take matters into their own hands with respect to their child's nutrition. We're done with 3 questions. Done. All right. So, Ratika, would love to talk about what are the set of reasons which, in your experience, what are set of triggers actually that parents have, after which they really start getting serious about the nutrition and lifestyle of their kid, right? I am sure some of those triggers could be around, the doctor explicitly recommending that was now it's time, and hypertension and these kind of cases have, I guess, started coming up in kids as well. But I'm sure there are lots of other reasons. Could be on disabilities, deficiency, learning, general behavior, obviously body fat, BMI, etc. Right? So you just narrate all the triggers that you have seen, after which parents really start taking this seriously, so that our listeners can then relate. Yeah, maybe this is happening with my kid as well. Do I need to be worried?
Okay. There are multiple factors, right? Few are very minor, like acne or dandruff, right? So now if a girl has dandruff, have got acne, and there are irregular period cycles going on, then they do need to refer their gynecologist. An ultrasound has to be done, and then they have to refer to the nutritionist, right? These are the signs of PCOD. So here, this is one sign, and then learning disabilities. If a child is not able to concentrate in their class, right, he's eating right and he's studying right, your child is intelligent, but still he remembers something today and he forgets it tomorrow. There is some problem there, right? You need to see how much sugars he's eating. Here you need to come to your nutritionist. Then comes hypertension. Now we have actually seen students leading a stressful life, right? Maybe because of a strenuous curriculum that the school has, or too many coachings the child has to go. So one has to see that as well. Knee pains. Knee pains are very common these days. This is due to vitamin D3 deficiency, right? Since we do not get regular blood checkups done for our children, that is also one problem, that we will never come to know what are the nutrient deficiencies until they turn 18 or 19, when they get their first medical checkup done. But now there have been a lot of facilities given in the schools that medical checkups regularly happen. Over there, the doctor can actually tell you, checking the BP of your child, whether he's at that hypertensive stage or not, right? And then comes cholesterol issues. I remember when I was in my school, our canteens used to give us samosas and patties, right? Now, if I go to my school at this time, they have come up with nice vegetable rolls, right? I don't know whether they have hired a chef or they have. I do believe that they have not hired a nutritionist, but they have kind of equipped the canteens with good food, right? So the schools which are still lacking such good food, or are still kind of outsourcing the food, and they don't know how much oil is going in, can lead to cholesterol issues as well. But again, as I told you, we do need a blood checkup over here for that child. Right. But these are minor triggers that a parent has to see. Or, for example, I would say more thinning of hairs, right? A child who is in school should not be struggling with hair fall. That's not the correct age for it, right? He or she
Correct.
is just in school. They have not grown old. Correct. That is one. And then osteopenia. I remember meeting an orthopedic surgeon in 2000. 14 before I started my master's. Right. So he handed me a flyer saying, you know how many osteopenic cases we have. Have you got your vitamin D and calcium checked lately, or have you got a DEXA scan done? And that was the point for me. Okay, fine, a DEXA scan. That means a full body. My like I would be on an X-ray machine kind of, right, and I'll get a full scanning done, and there it'll tell what is my bone mineral density and am I osteopenic or not. Luckily, I was not, but then we do hear such cases, and it's really most common during the teenage. So if your child is say for example in ninth, 10th, 11th and 12th, you literally should look for these factors as well, because these are the things, if not tackled in the initial run, it does take a lot of time later on.
Correct. So you mentioned osteopenia. That's what it's
Yes,
called, right?
yes,
And
osteopenia.
how does it, like, what are the symptoms? How do I identify if this particular teenager, my younger brother or somebody has
Hmm.
it?
Okay, so with osteopenia, I mean your the bones will be very weak, right? So if I'm falling, I will get a fracture or minor
Got it.
ligament tear, right? But
Correct.
if I'm extremely strong, then I shouldn't get that. So this is because of the calcium and the vitamin D deficiencies. Even if your child is drinking a lot of milk or having curd and paneer, do not assume that your child will have strong bones and teeth, right? You do need vitamin
Mm.
D3 for the absorption of this calcium. So there are multiple factors that play a role. Now, there are many children that come to me with less hemoglobin, right? तो
Yeah.
parents will complain, हमारे बच्चे का तो hemoglobin ही नहीं बढ़ता, इतना iron का खाना खिलाते, we give him beetroots, we give him all the green leafy vegetables. But what they forget is they have to give this vitamin C along with it, so that absorption
Mm.
happens in the body. So that's why one has to visit the nutritionist who could literally tell you where you're going wrong, despite you would have done everything as a parent over
Correct.
here.
Correct. Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. So now I think we have a very clear view of the problem, Ratika. Let's talk very practical solutions. Let's
Hmm.
take some extreme cases jahan pe, let's say there's a kid who is very, very much into, literally survives on sugary and, trans fat foods, packaged food, right? His
Mhm.
entire life is about hide and seek and lace, for example, right?
Okay.
And वो last 5-6 साल से ऐसा है, right? And now the mother is very, very conscious that I need to do something about it, because वो BMI
Mhm.
या फिर body fat वाला chart काफी decently fast ऊपर जाने लगा है. And now the mother is worried that I know there are certain things that come with obesity, and I don't want to, have my child have that kind of health.
Hmm.
But it is not possible for the child to be on a strict diet, right? There's some
Correct.
particular challenge around that. वो possible नहीं है. Now as a mother who's well informed, has that mindset as well कि change करना है, but I have a, let's say, 12 साल का kid who's 12 साल की age is when you can slightly start being rebellious, right? You cannot be completely controlled. I think maybe
Hmm.
still 60-70% control. पूरा control नहीं हो पाएगा. You
Hmm.
have a lot of energy as well, right? And now the mother has to fix this habit,
Correct.
right? This issue. How does this mother go about fixing this? Is my question.
It's easy, right? So now when we are not on a strict diet over here, we can work on the day-to-day tips, right? So now this child has already been on sugars, right? And you cannot put your child off sugar on one day, right? You can try it
Yeah.
for a day, but it will not be sustainable. So now you have to adopt a method which is kind of gradual and sustainable as well, right? Sugars are entirely not bad, right? Sugars are kind of a bad, are termed bad and seen bad as well, right? I don't know why that
Mhm.
thing is, because now also when I get clients, I tell them you can eat sugar, right? But you have to control it. So then they are
Correct.
amazed. Okay, fine, we can eat it. The same thing a mother needs to understand, right? Over here, the scenario is a mother is all aware about it, right? But still can't put their child on a strict diet. So what to do? Over here, if the mother can read the label of the packed food that she is getting home, right? So for example, in the morning, she is giving a breakfast of chocos and milk, right? Do not add extra sugar because chocos already have that, right? So read the label. if you're giving 2 big tablespoons of chocos, right, how much sugar is going in? You can give your child halwa or kheer that you make at home. But again, limit all that sugar under 3 teaspoons, which is 15 grams in total. Right? Do not make so much of fried food at home. Get an air fryer or cook food in non-stick utensils for that matters. Right? Which will require very less oil. So if these things are done and you are keeping your child hydrated, right now hydration plays a role. So if your child hasn't had water in the last 3 years, that thirst will kind of aggravate and become hunger for him or her. Right. So here the child will be mistaken to eat a lot of food.
Yeah.
Right. So hydration, keeping the oil under control, keeping the sugar under control. If these 3 parameters are taken care of, I do not think the child will turn obese. And of course, yes, you should be giving the home cooked food, and the junk food can be kept as a reward or could be kept for the picnic days when you are going for a family outing. That day can be devoted to all the
True.
junk that your child wants to eat, but rest of the 5 or 6 days can also be devoted to the home cooked food along with these I won't say limitations, just the controlling part of 3 things.
Correct. So you don't have to like go on a diet. You just have to
Correct.
your mom, and you have to work together to be able to moderate well. For
Correct.
example, 3 teaspoon is my limit of how much sugar I can have in a day. You have to be mindful of that. Otherwise, in the natural course of the day, एक hide and seek, एक chocos, एक halwa, एक
Yeah.
दूध के साथ चीनी, it definitely exceeds that limit,
Correct.
right? So got it. And of course, I think if you have a rebellious kid who uh, I think it's very, very tough to tell him this is what you should do. I feel what I would do in that scenario is just drastically change my own habits, right?
Hmm.
Just become a total health freak, because ultimately they would end up copying us, right? They might take a year, might take whatever time. So this, and second,
Correct.
just make him watch a bunch of very, very informational content that really gets the message across that यार 12 साल के बच्चे में I think इतना तो sense होता है that if you tell him कि यार this would lead to you being a not so hunky and six pack Abby. That's not the right term, Abby, but
No,
yeah,
no, no. I will
not a
tell
very,
you. Yes, we cannot talk the gym terms with a 12-year-old child,
yeah,
right?
true,
But for sure,
true,
you
true.
can talk about the car, right? If you own Maruti's Zen, right, which is kind of out of the market now, or if you talk about a Rolls Royce or a Lamborghini, right? Talk about that. Then you have to give premium fuel to your kind of high rated cars
Correct,
and only petrol or diesel अगर इससे भी गंदा fuel आता हो that you will give to your Zen. Correct. Now which car that 12-year-old want to become, right? So we
correct,
have to
correct.
give examples of very day-to-day life to a 12-year-old, right? Could be a car example for the boy, could be a doll example for the girl, wherein if she is brushing her Barbie and the hairs are coming out. Why is that so? Because you're eating too much of sugar. Now, don't do that, right? Do not feed your Barbie too much of sugar. The hair will be intact and the volume will grow.
Correct. I think if your 12-year-old is actually still playing with the Barbie, I think you've got better, more challenges than just nutrition. But jokes apart, so I think, yeah, education and changing your
Correct.
own behavior so that they start emulating, and obviously doing
Hmm.
these very, very incremental changes and not saying kya chalo diet pe jate hain. I think that still might
Correct.
work even for a very, very tough case. Got it. This is helpful, Ratika. So now coming on to teenagers, right? Specifically the 13 plus age group, right? So 13 to 18, you are
Hmm.
moving towards adolescence, right? There are certain changes that happen in your life around your approach, how much you listen to your parents, right? More stress, I would say, as well in some cases, jahan pe comparative exams and whatnot. You might you start going to tuitions and coachings jahan pe there is more exposure to chili potato and burger every evening. I've been there myself, right? So that exposure drastically increases. Usse pehle school mein it was just every Friday you get some money
Hmm.
for having junk food in the
Correct.
canteen, right? Now you start going to tuitions 15 years of age onwards. Now you have so much more access. You have people who are uh, uh, participating with you in this entire initiative of gulping down a lot of junk food, right? You might also there's obviously the extra stress, and then it gets tough to listen to your parents as well, right? That's very, very
Hmm.
common. And we still know that poor nutrition is a serious problem in teenagers as well, right? There's two parts to it. One is obviously obesity, right? Another part that I have recently read about is the increasing prevalence of problems like PCOS in the early adolescence, right? Even let's say 15, 16 years, 17 years of age, right? Women or girls who are that age, right? I think it's 10% is the figure which is the prevalence of PCOS even in the adolescence, right? Before 18 years of age, right? So both of these problems are pretty huge. And as I said, all of these challenges start coming in, right? So if you could just talk about, so uh, how to look out for this PCOS issue, right? If I am diagnosed with this, right, what are the set of changes I need to make as a 17-year-old girl, right, who's still living with
Okay.
their parents, still living dependent on the parents? And B is obviously, as a teenager, what should be my motivation to start looking at food and nutrition differently? Because my natural state is, यार अभी तो खाने पीने की उम्र है, ट्यूशन के बाद सब जंक खाना है. How do I become a person who is able to get out of that mental trap ki again abhi to chalta hai, right? So both of these would love to hear your thoughts on this.
All right. So let's begin with PCOS. Now, PCOS is much more a grave term and a grave problem, right? We have two things, PCOD and PCOS. Let's talk about PCOD, which can be treated, right? Over here, both the things have cyst issue in the ovary. And at the same time, PCOS is more grave because we have a problem with the endocrine gland altogether, right? Not getting into those terms, PCOD, how you identify it? If you see a lot of acne coming in, right, your period cycles are irregular. Now, with irregularity, I do not mean that they're delayed by 5 days or it is a 35-day cycle, 40 and beyond 40. If that is the thing happening with you, it is PCOD. Could be PCOD, but again, you need to get it checked. There would be an ultrasound. So you need to meet your gynae for that. Then hair thinning. You would see hair fall, the volume would drop. This is also one of the indicators. Then the basic indicator that we see is the familial history of diabetes. If anybody from your mom's side or dad's side had diabetes or currently is going through that phase, you may be insulin resistant as well, right? Unless you would have got an HbA1c checked for yourself, wherein you are in the normal range, right? Then it is okay. Then we can ignore this fact. But if you know that this is the problem and you are kind of loading yourself up on sugars, right? We all know now teenagers have a lot of stress, right? Because of too much of work or too many coachings. Now, this stress is also one of the factor that leads to PCOD or thinning of hairs or acne issue, right? So it's a collective problem, or it has a lot of symptoms altogether. It's not only one, right? So this is how one can identify PCOS. Next, what to do is go for an ultrasound, meet your gynae, right? She will tell you what is the size of your cyst and what next to do. Third, meet your dietitian who would tell you to start your physical activity right away. Now, what's going to happen is when you are physically active, you're not letting that weight jump. Now, when a woman, or I shouldn't use woman over here. When a girl is overweight, right? She has chances of developing PCOD. And if a girl is diagnosed with PCOD, she will put on weight. So it's a vicious trap. In both the ways, you are putting on weight. You're not reducing it anyhow. So what you have to do is you have to burn those extra calories because you cannot neglect eating, right? You cannot go zero food. So burn the calories at the same time. Secondly, take care of the protein. So now what your nutritionist going to do is take care of your calorie requirements throughout the day. Second is take care of your protein requirements so that you do not lose your hair, right? I would actually die if I get alopecia. Now, alopecia is no hair at all, right? So no girl wants that. So we do have to take care about it. And then comes high fiber to reduce that insulin resistance or to avoid reaching that diabetic stage, right? So it's all a vicious trap, I would say, that one needs to deal with. And yes, 1 out of 10 girls do have PCOD, and only 2 know out of 10 girls that they have PCOD, right? So there is a vast difference that women do not even know that they are suffering with PCOD. So one needs to
Yeah.
kind of take care of these symptoms, what they are going through. Secondly,
And
as you, yeah,
yeah, sorry to cut you off. So, what if you could just quickly also talk about what are the implications of ignoring a major problem like PCOS as a 17-year-old girl? As you mentioned, right? Awareness is very low. You
correct.
might feel that ये तो कुछ लोगों को होता है, मेरी ठीक है, मतलब ignore
Hmm,
करो, ठीक है, irregular cycle है या जो भी चीजें हैं, right? It's
correct.
hinting towards PCOS, but you ignore that. What are the dangers of ignoring it in your early years and just continuing that same lifestyle?
Yeah, very good question over here. The criticality of PCOD is it brings in fertility issues, right? If
Hmm.
you ignore it at the age of 17 and kind of go on with the same lifestyle, and at the age of 25, and you make up your mind that yes, you have to marry, right? And when you plan your family, you will see a lot of you will come across a lot of problems, right? Some people go have miscarriages, or some have issues conceiving, so then they opt for IUI or IVF methods. So this is one big problem that comes with PCOD, apart from the ones that I had spoken before.
Got it. You know, real life is starting very soon when I go out to the hostel and start being more independent, right? uh,
Correct.
why should I be worried about being a 35 or 40 BMI person and having very very high body? How does it affect my life in the next 5 years?
Let me ask you a question over here, Akshat. When you talk about a BMI of 35 and more, or 40, right, as you mentioned, how do you imagine that child would look like?
I think of course one side of it, I feel, is obviously aesthetics as well, right? So that's the time when people start dating and having body issues sometimes and all of that. So one, that factor is there of also. But in my head, if I were at that kind of a health stage, I would be
Mm,
worried about not being able to do sports. I would be because I love sports and I think everybody should, right? In fact, uh, I think most people pursue sports until at least college, second, third year,
correct.
right? Uske baad
Correct.
छूट जाता है life से. So
Mm,
I'd be worried about not being able to do well in sports. I'd be worried about the aesthetic side of it. I would be also worried about uh, yeah, I think just I think that's more in hindsight. I know about productivity and how my productivity is affected by that. So now I'm trying to say that, but I don't think I would be
mm.
worried about productivity. But yeah, that's how I would look at it.
No,
And
it's
it
actually
would
the beginning. When you talk about productivity, no, if I have to think of a 35 BMI or more, it would be a person who is always sitting, right? Who drains his or her entire energy in planning what she will be doing throughout the day, right? And end up doing nothing. Can't play sports because we don't have that much of energy, right? Can't go for dating because we are now conscious about the way we look. Third, can't even focus on our studies because we have binged on too much of carbs. It makes us drowsy, right? So what we are
Mhm.
losing on is we are losing on our marks. We are losing on our health altogether, that we cannot play sports, or we cannot do what we like, can't wear what we like, can't date as well, right? So I do not see any win-win situation anywhere, right? So that
Mhm.
is one problem. Now, what happens over here is, um, I've mostly seen this in girls. They develop this body shaming disorder. Now, what does
Yeah.
that mean is that they would love to eat food, right? So, this is called as bulimia nervosa, wherein teenage girl, or any girl for that matters, would eat a lot. Like, she would binge, and then secretively she will go to the bathroom and she will purge, right? She will puke
Mm.
all that. Now, the drawback of this is you are done with one day, you did it. But now, when this becomes a habit, it will deteriorate your oral health, right? So,
Mm.
this dental health will be kind of gone bad. There would be smell in the mouth, and teeth will not be as strong as they should be because of a lot of acid that comes out, right? So over here, we are preventing the food from digesting. We are taking this out so that we do not um, put on weight. Second is
Mm.
anorexia, wherein a teenager is not eating only. They have left food entirely. We do see these problems in models,
Mm.
right? But this is there with the teenagers as well. Now, over here, at one point of time or short term, they would lose weight or they would not put on weight, right? But the time they stop, right? So, say for example, they dated someone with this type of a disorder, and then things went well, and now they started binging, right? They will drastically put on weight. So, this is not
Mm.
obesity which is limited to that teenage. It is more than that. It is for your adulthood and maybe beyond that. So over here, what we need to do is change the behavior altogether, right? Now,
Mm.
if you are eating right, playing as well, or kind of forcing yourself to go out and play, then only the energy levels would be up because you're utilizing all that energy. So here, this is also one right time when you have to meet your nutritionist who can actually tell you if you are on a 2000 calorie diet because you are a teenager. She can tell you, no, dude, this is not a 2000 calorie range. You have to be at 1800 because of this height of yours that you have attained.
Mm.
Right. So when we calculate the energy requirements based on the gender, based on the height, based on the current weight. Right. Once we know this, then we can tell, okay, fine, this all you have to eat, and this is the portion sizes. Sometimes even the adults that I deal with, right, they also tell me that you are actually giving me so much to eat, right?
Mm.
Because they
Correct.
are on a diet part. So for teenagers, this is a plus point because um, the energy requirement that they have during their teen years is pretty high, right? So
Mm.
they can enjoy that, but not at a cost of protein or maybe too much of carbs in their diet, right? So what we have to stop is the wrong eating habits that they have developed. The way you said,
Correct.
chili potatoes and everything, after the
Yeah.
coaching, this is what we have to stop or kind of limit.
Correct. Correct. Makes sense. All right, so Ratika, now we've discussed about the obesity and
Hmm.
overnutrition, excess calories, too much food part of
Hmm.
it, right? Uh, what is also prevalent, even let's say I leave out the malnutrition side of things, which is often seen in the lower socioeconomic strata of the
Hmm.
society, right? Very
Correct.
prevalent in India, right? I think that's more socioeconomic than behavioral,
Hmm.
right? But even in urban middle class and upper middle class, there's also a prevalence of undernutrition, right?
Correct.
And it could be it could be just overall undernutrition, could be certain nutrients, could be lack of protein, right? So let's say we've discussed obesity. Now let's talk
Hmm.
about the other side of the spectrum. uh, what are the set of challenges that a undernourished 10, 12, 13 year old would see, and what are these triggers jahan pe, again so I wanted to talk about what are the top 3 4 deficiencies that 10, 12 year olds or kids face basically in
Hmm.
your experience. What why do they essentially arise, right? What are the set of
Hmm.
habits because of which it happens, and how to fix those as a parent or as a child, right? So yeah, would love to hear about that.
All right. So when you talk about undernutrition is actually synonymous to stunting because we're not going to malnutrition completely, right?
Correct.
That hasn't been the case in the upper socioeconomic strata. Over here, stunting is the big problem. As I told you before as well, that the height of children is going down. Earlier, people used to touch 5'11", 6 easily, right?
Hmm.
Now, it's difficult to go beyond 5'5" or 5'6", right? Hardly I find people. Or if I find people, then it would be like before 2000, kind of 92 or lesser than 92 born. Correct. Now, this
Hmm.
problem has come up earlier. What we were doing is, so there is this survey which is done by what we call as NFHS, right? So now when they used to do the research, they used to do it under 5, like for children who were under 5. They, in that 3 and 4 survey that they did, like third or fourth survey that they did check the adolescents as well, though there is not much of the data that they could collect. But yes, they did see stunting as a big problem coming in. I remember having a friend in my college who had been just 5'2", being a
Hmm.
guy. So that was something I was amazed. Ki how come itna hi height रह गया? Because I remember my dad had this rod attached in the door of my room, wherein he used to tell me, he used to instruct me actually that you have to kind of use this, right? I
Measure your height.
Yeah, so that no, so that you can become tall. So I used to kind of hold it, and then so it's like men doing push-ups, right, with their body weights, pull-ups
Got it.
actually,
Got it.
right?
Got
So
it. Got it.
similar to that. So
Hmm.
that I had got, but unfortunately, even I am 5'2". Okay, but being a girl, 5'2", everything's fine, right? But a guy only 5'2", that was a problem. Now, why this is happening? Though stunting is more in terms of girls in urban areas, but it is prevalent in males as well, right? And though there is a paucity of data over here, so I do not want to comment more because there hasn't been much of the research. But yes, the critical nutrients that you asked me, right? What they could be at this stage. One is the iron. How much iron you have, because when girls strike puberty, there's a lot of iron loss from their body. Second is calcium. Third is vitamin D3. How much vitamin D3 is there in your body to absorb the calcium? Fourth is vitamin A. How much green leafy vegetables you are eating, right? So
Hmm.
that it can take care of your vitamin A, which is required in the growth years. And I would say stunting is not observed in an year or so. It's it's kind of a long-term nutrition habit, right? If you had been
Yeah.
eating right in several years, then only you will attain that right height, right? So it's the formative years over here that leads to this undernutrition during your puberty or during the early adolescence.
Got it. Got it. So to summarize, Ratika, if I have to ensure that my 10-year-old or a child
Hmm.
uh, doesn't have a lifestyle disorder, does not have any stunting, right? Has
Hmm.
consistent good growth. If it's a girl, then does not have any kind of a PCOS or any such challenge.
Hmm. Correct.
Has good focus, concentration, overall
Hmm.
productivity. uh, you know the body is not conditioned to later in life be very very susceptible to lifestyle disorder. So मेरे को सब कुछ सही करना है.
Hmm.
So just to sum it up, if you could just tell the 4 or 5 dietary things that I as a parent need to keep in mind. Like you mentioned, vitamin A, C, D, right? These are
Yes.
the set of foods that just blindly do this and you're sorted. You similarly ensure that starch and sugar ka overall moderation hai itna teaspoon. So would love
Hmm.
to hear the broad 4 or 5 points that could be a very very crisp takeaway for the listeners to ensure everything
Hmm.
goes right.
All right. Okay. So I would not suggest 10 years, that let your child turn 10 and then you start correcting the eating habits. The
Yeah.
time you have put your child on weaning foods, right? The time your child turns 6 months or 7 months, from there itself, keep a tab on the nutrition, what you're actually giving your child. When you're getting that packed or the formula milk for your child, right? Do read the label so that you know what sugar is going in, because there are various. I remember reading 54 names of sugars that are actually written on the label to misguide the customer, right? So be that vigilant customer, read the labels, see what things you are giving. And in terms of growth, in terms of the height over here, do take care of the iron and calcium sources. So when you are giving milk to your child, right, once he's 2 or 3, do make your child sit in the sunlight, in the morning sunlight, so that he can get that vitamin D3 also. Right, I know nowadays every one of us Google, right? Once you Google, you would find a lot of food items that would say that this thing contains vitamin D3, right? Unless that thing is fortified, only then give. Otherwise, do contact your nutritionist, because food doesn't have that much of vitamin D3 that a child or that an adult needs, right? So over here, one needs to check the requirements as well. How much quantity of the nutrients are required, right? So this has to be taken care of. And height is not a matter of a year or two. It is a matter of long-term nutrition. So no matter
Yeah,
what age your child is at, 3, 4, 10, 13, 16, right? Right nutrition is a necessity over here. Secondly, how you can eliminate the chances of common disorders or deficiencies. In case you can get in touch with your doctor who would recommend a blood checkup done, get that done, see if any nutrient is missing in the body, right? Otherwise, if you are a vegetarian and if your child is also a vegetarian or a pure vegetarian, then you need to take care of the B12 sources. Now, B12 is a vitamin which only comes from non-veg sources. Non-veg sources or any food that comes from an animal, for example, milk, curd, or paneer, right? So you need to give that. Then you have to take care of the protein. Now, this protein will not help in building muscles in your child, right? For your child. So over here, protein is good for the skin, good for the nails, good for the hairs, right? And good to give that stamina to your child that you actually need to see, right? So one needs to take care about that as well. And for mental growth, I would suggest omega-3, which will come from almonds and walnuts. Do give that to your child, but again, I'll tell you, do see the portion sizes that you have to give. It's not like you can give 20 almonds or 20 walnuts to your child. Okay, now this will kind of enhance the brain growth. Nothing like that. Understand how much you have to give and then give. Uh, for the emotional growth, be there with your child, right?
yeah,
That is
of
something
course.
every child would seek. Now, there's a lot of information that I have given, or one would Google and get that, right? Now, it's kind of, it's a sea of information, right? Now, parent knows everything. A parent has to deliver it to the child. Correct.
Yeah,
And then the parent has to understand what the child is going through. If the child is not liking it, or if it is so much for the child, be there as that support system. Understand what they
correct.
are going through so that you can actually connect or have that strong bond. That if you say, okay, fine, this is good, or if you want to take a break from eating right food, let's go out, enjoy, and then come back and resume this, right? Though this break would be a day or two, but if a parent is there to provide that emotional support, I believe things will fall in place. There will be no deficiencies, or there will be no stunting or obesity problem thereafter.
Absolutely. I think a lot of it comes back to the parents, right?
Correct.
I think much more than educating the kids,
Mhm.
it is about educating the parents, because having the right knowledge, having the right environment, you yourself be
Correct.
doing the right thing so that your kid essentially emulates that, uh, being there as a friend so that you can drive that behavior. So that's what I've seen, right? You can't just drive behavior of a kid simply by giving orders,
Mm.
right? The more
True.
friendly you are, the more connect you have, the more you can drive these sort of behaviors. And we've talked in a lot of detail why you need to be crazy obsessed about nutrition and lifestyle in the formative years, because tens of things that can go wrong, and if you do it right, tens of things that
Mm.
can go like really right
Correct.
in favor of the kid, right? he's
Mm.
he's he's more self-confident, he's healthier, he won't have any lifestyle disorder, he's smarter, he has a probably better growth, right? So it's actually again a, I think, should be in the top three focus areas of parents, and much higher than teaching them coding on White Hat Junior. That's how I see it. Right?
Over here,
Yeah. So
parents need
that's
to be the role models. Right.
absolutely,
So why
absolutely,
not that be the day one that they also jump into that right eating boat when
absolutely,
their
absolutely.
child
I
turns
feel
six?
that's true. That's the only way I feel. Right. So Ratika, just one final question, and that's at a very, very macro level, right? So we've talked about what are the set of changes. How do parents, how
Mm.
should kids think about this entire problem and ensure that they stay fit, right?
Mm.
But what about the industry, the schools, and the government, right? We know that there's a massive education gap, right?
Correct.
A lot of it falls into the hands of the government to ensure that the citizens know what is important, right? uh, a lot of it also should fall into the as responsibility of the schools, right? I know that there is some kind of
Mm.
initiatives that the schools run these days. I think they are phasing out canteens which have very oily food. There is some
Correct.
level of governance on that, right? But according to you, and given that you've spent a lot of time thinking about this
Mm.
topic at the ground level, uh, what is it that, if you were made, let's say, the head of CBSE or the education
Mhm.
minister, today, right, for the next
Hmm.
1 year, right? What actually would it be, education or health minister, whatever it is, right? What are the changes that you would drive in schools to ensure that ye child obesity comes down from 35 to very low levels, stunted growth comes down from X% to very low levels, and ये अगले 5 साल में प्रॉब्लम सारी सॉल्व कर दे by working with schools, because I think schools can have a lot of impact. एक है
Correct.
parents, but school पे भी exposure दिन के 5-6 घंटे होता है, right? And
True.
schools have some kind of a systems to get students together to drive their behavior, to educate them, right? So
Correct.
just, bottom line, what should the schools do, what should the governments do to combat all of these child nutrition problems and be done with these in the next 10 years?
All right. With respect to the government, see, government can make policies, right? FSSAI does have some policies that the school has to implement, as you said, for the canteens, right? Canteen had been massive change that I have seen in schools. Even in my school, if I talk about, I did see the canteen getting changed after this policy had come. But then policy making, it's extremely easy, I would say, right? Implementing it becomes difficult. And then the third thing, which is auditing, whether every school has done that or not, right? So over here, in terms of government, make a policy, implement and audit it at a regular basis. With respect to school, I would say a child literally spends over a decade in the school, right? If a parent doesn't change to school that ways. So it's not only those 7 hours of the day, the exposure that a child gets, it is continuous exposure for next 10 or 12 years that a child would get, right? So over here, along with the parent, if the school works on the right nutrient demands of the child, and let me compare this with a weight clinic, right, Akshat? So you run Nutripal. Over here we work with clients and make custom diet plans, right? We know this client has diabetes or he's suffering from cholesterol problems. Now we have to make a diet rich in high fiber and we have to focus on water. Correct. Now in a school, in a class of 20 or 30 maximum, right? That's the strength of one class. If we do have the data that this child is suffering from this problem or everything is good, and we know that these people are at the same age bracket, correct? If the school is able to hire a nutritionist and one chef for their canteen, these two people in combination can actually do very well for the entire school, right?
Absolutely.
So a nutritionist over here can understand what are the problems for that child and custom make the canteen plan. In case this child needs to go to the canteen for some of the other reasons that he or she hasn't got lunch today or whatsoever it be, right? He or she knows that this is the list that they can have, right? Not going for any other option. And then what can happen is when there is a PTM, like parent teachers meeting, these parents can actually meet the nutritionist as well and understand what is going right and wrong with their child, right? So this is
Absolutely.
like every school can take up medical checkups as one of their responsibilities. Why not hire one nutritionist per school who can literally manage the entire school, or maybe two nutritionists, and then they can divide middle school and then the higher school. This way, an exposure to the nutritionist at a very early age makes them. So this is the nutritionist at this age is a very useful resource, right? So if a nutritionist has prevented that obesity or stunting in the school level, then the college adulthood is all safe, right? Because you have already nurtured the child and given the basics over there. You have laid the right foundation, right? So we go to the school to get that basic
True.
foundation, right? We study and we know what we have to do later. So why not do it with the health as well? Go with the foundation and then one can go at the
Absolutely.
advanced level in the other institutions. So this is my
Makes a
take.
lot of sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely makes sense. I think if you imagine schools जहाँ पे there's annual uh, health checkups that are facilitated by the schools for all
Correct.
kids, right? Which essentially ensures that I know इस बच्चे का stunted growth का fight हो सकता है because iron कम है, vitamin D कम है.
Correct.
This person has a family history, इसका insulin resistance, HbA1c का कुछ fight दिख रहा है. I as a school can work very strongly with parents. I might be able to even pass on all the cost to the parent, but in general the parents would appreciate schools really like delving their nose into this entire. Yeah, my job is not to
Correct.
get your kid
Hmm.
good grades and just extracurricular, but my job is also to keep your child fit. I will work with
Correct.
you on that. So
Hmm.
I think medical checkups, I think having mandatory nutritionists on board with some kind of a rigorous system to ensure that kids are identified, kids who need to work on their nutrition,
True.
their parents are given a heads up, and then the nutritionist provides that support, right? And obviously I strongly feel about this particular topic. I had read, like everybody's read about carbs, protein, etc., right?
Right.
But the level of nutritional knowledge that is required, for example, the bunch of things we discussed, why aren't there separate courses in schools, like from 5th or 6th class onwards should have one health course every year, right? Probably from 8th it might start incorporating sexual health as well, right? Sex education, right? uh, I think nutrition should be covered every year. You might even keep repeating the same thing, but that's the thing with health, right? The more you repeat, the
Right.
more you internalize, right?
Correct.
So I don't see why there should be like a one mandatory health course every year, right? And bunch of these things, if done together between the schools and the government, I think would be a big win in terms of being able to fend off these epidemics that we are seeing around
Correct.
obesity
Very
as
true.
well as the other issues, right? So let's see what all happens. We'll do our part
Yeah.
to enable change. And this was super helpful, Ratika. Just a small request, if you could just maybe share a blog or something that kind of collates all of these things, right? I'd
Sure.
be happy to add that link in our YouTube channel so that people can refer and really internalize a lot of things and actually
Yeah.
make changes wherever required. That will be super helpful. um, and thanks a lot for your time. This was super fun. Look to catch up again sometime.
Sure, Akshat.
Thanks.
Thank you so
See
much.
you soon.
Yep. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.